when D decided to be an entrepreneur 20 years ago, that was like blasphemy in the Indian community.
Yeah.
And being a comedian is like one step further. So I'm curious how that all started.
Well, I was a finance major in 2008. And
hot profession.
I don't know if you know about that year. Fast forward to 2009, underemployed, unemployed, was looking for some kind of outlet, and I found stand-up. I was like, oh, this seems, as arrogant as it sounds, like easy. And I was like, I can do this shit, and I really had no idea what the road ahead was, for better or for worse. Sometimes you go into something ignorant. It's a boon for you because you don't know the hurdles that are going to be ahead of you. You just kind of take them as they come.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Group Chat, #1 podcast in the world. We are kicking off today's episode with a very, very, very special guest, Nimesh Patel, our favorite comedian that we discovered on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of us have become big fans of him now. And his cousin listened to the pod.
Yeah, shout out to the cousin.
Yeah, shout out. Big shout out. And got him on the podcast. And so we talk about his rise in comedy, his background. And he gave away a TikTok hint that's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, that was hot.
Yes. If you own a business and you're a local business, hot idea.
A bunch of my friends have gone to his shows.
Really?
Yeah, they said it's amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like his tour is going great. So we have him on, and then we kick it off with some news. Inflation basically is over, according to JP. And now the market's ripping. Bed Bath & Beyond is basically insolvent, and people are piling into the stock.
And D has a regulation he wants enforced.
Yes, I want it enforced. We have to fix this problem. And then ChatGPT or bust. Big ChatGPT talk. AI is everywhere. If you haven't changed...
How many people do you think changed their .eth on their Twitter to .ai?
75 million people. There's nothing hotter than .ai.
Uh-huh.
All right, that's it. Let's get into it. All right, everyone. We have a very special guest today. We've spoken about him several times on the podcast, and really just because we're fans and really enjoyed a lot of his content. And it's one of those moments that, like Anand mentioned it, I was consuming it, Drama was consuming it, and we were both, all three of us sitting here, we're like, we all watch Nimesh Patel on TikTok. Man, he's so funny. And I think like it hit our radar because Anand's friends were talking about it.
Yep.
And here you are today. And it's fun because like our podcast got very popular because of TikTok. And so, credit to all the Chinese spyware. It really works.
Hell yes.
But like, I feel like comedy is one of those mediums that like just works so well because of the attention span of most people. And your clips on TikTok, one, are hilarious and seem like they've reached like another stratosphere of people that I'm sure has had an impact on your career. And with all that, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. It's been a journey. The reason I called my special "Thank You, China" is because of TikTok. It is. It's the opening joke. I would not be where I'm at today if not for TikTok's prowess at getting to people who would otherwise not think they would enjoy my comedy, I would think.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, if you did not have TikTok, how would you have thought your career would have went?
It's kind of hard to gauge where my stand-up would be from a touring perspective. Like when I started putting stuff out on TikTok was, I don't even know, like November 2020, I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe November. Yeah, I think like November 2020. My first TikTok I know was in like June of 2020, and it was just me overlaying on top of Kanye West's Jesus is Lord. I said, Jesus, I'm bored, because it was like the middle of pandemic. And I was like, why is everyone on this stupid ass app? And my wife suggested I get on it. And I didn't, I mean, I put that first clip out, but I didn't really do anything beyond that. And then another friend of mine, Sahib Singh, was like, you should really use it, his stand up. And he had been using it to like proliferate his JRTC character that he was doing. And I was like, all right, let me actually use this in earnest. And I had, a decade's worth of stand up clipped up. And so I just started putting that shit out. And then I didn't really think anything of it. Come, March 2021, I had some stand-up dates lined up from like pre-pandemic bookings. And I was like, all right, well, let's see if I can't use this platform to sell tickets. And I put some copy on the videos that I was putting up. Next thing you know, I'm selling 4 shows in Houston. I added shows in Dallas. I added shows in Austin. I was like, I had like this crazy run. I only had like 80,000 TikTok followers, but I managed to sell like 1,000 tickets or something, which is more tickets than I'd ever sold in my entire life for myself. You know what I mean? Like headlining wise. Yeah. And it was from that point, I was like, okay, well, this is an interesting machine. I didn't early adopt to YouTube or TikTok or anything of the sort. I mean, of Instagram. But I was like, well, TikTok, I seem like might be on the beginning of what this platform might be. Let's just give it a shot. I don't have a lot to lose. April 2021, the case study for those small shows got proved out. I was like, well, let's just keep going. My manager and hired an agent. My agent came on. We added all these shows, and all those shows started selling tickets. I was like, oh, this is real. And fast forward to now 2 years later, here I am still on tour, tired as fuck, but happy with where things are going,
And, just a little background, how'd you get into stand-up? Because, when Dee decided to be an entrepreneur 20 years ago, that was like blasphemy in the Indian community. Yeah. And being a comedian is like one step further. So I'm curious how that all started.
Well, I was a finance major in 2008. And
hot profession.
I don't know if you know about that year. If you've heard things about it, granted it was 15 years ago now, but I was also not like, it's funny you bring it up. I was just at my friend's wedding, and who graduated the same year. A bunch of my peers were there, and they all graduated, close to the top of the class, and they've all followed that standard kind of finance route, PE, banking, hedge fund, millions of dollars, Mexico City wedding, everything paid for kind of situation.
It's nice.
It was the best weddings. Yeah, it was great. But I was not in that group of super strong students. So when I graduated in 2008 with a finance degree, I was like kind of listless. And I didn't want to do finance. It was just something I chose to do because I saw everyone around me doing it. I didn't really know what it was. Fast forward to 2009, unemployed, was looking for some kind of outlet, and I found stand-up. I was like, oh, this seems, as arrogant as it sounds, like easy. I was like, I can do this shit, and I really had no idea what the road ahead was, for better or for worse. Sometimes you go into something ignorant, and it's a boon for you because you don't know the hurdles that are going to be ahead of you. You just kind of take them as they come. And that was really it. There was no path that I could follow. It was just go on stage, do open mics, see what happens, and hopefully opportunities come. And every time I thought about, man, this shit sucks, some opportunity came my way when I did something I didn't want to do, like go to open mic when I could have just caught the bus home. And I just remember all those moments like, oh shit, okay, this is like, I'm trending in the right direction, albeit at a very slow pace.
What's interesting about comedy, like I basically have lived off Sunset the last 20 years, somewhere between Comedy Store and Laugh Factory. And, I've obviously been in those places a lot, but like, it just seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, really fucking hard to break through. And, and it just seems like a really tough life, just from being on the road, being up late night. Like, this is just my perception, because I see people leaving comedy clubs late at night, and I feel like it's like in the moment of a comedy club, you're trying to entertain this small, intimate group of people, and then you got to go keep doing it and doing it and doing it and deliver the same energy every single night. And I think like a musician can do a tour and maybe stop for the rest of the year, but I feel like comedians are just always on. Is that accurate?
Well, it depends on the phase of the career that you're in. It's tough in the sense that from the outside of like the hours and the sort of constant grind, but in that sense, as an entrepreneur, you will know that it doesn't feel like work all the time.
Yeah.
Because it is something you want to do, and the only rewards you're going to get out of it are what you put into it. And that kind of mindset, at least for me, like I can't speak for other comedians, but for me, is what kind of drives me and drove me then. It's like, I'm only going to see returns if I put something in. The more I put in, hopefully the more returns I will get. What returns are, it's kind of hard to, a lot of them are intangible. You know, it's like that joke got better, or that someone saw me that will tell someone else to come see me. And maybe they got a friend that could get me on another show that I'll get an opportunity at. You know, it's like you do all these things constantly in the hopes of something unknown happening to you. But at its core, it's like, it's because you want to make people laugh and or make yourself laugh. So it's not tough in that regard of like, what's it called? Waking up and not having anything to do and then working for like 3 hours. It's more like that unknown can get to you. And it does for sure. Yeah.
Because like for a comedian, like your main source of income is touring. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it's, for the first like 6 years of stand-up, 6 years. Yeah. Like from from August 2009 to January 2016, I still had a job in finance.
Wow.
I was working as an assistant for like a hedge fund, and then an investment bank, and then a family office. And that was because, comedy wasn't paying. Maybe I'll do like a open mic or a show here, or a show there, get paid like $100 or something. But it wasn't like I was paying rent doing stand up. And that doesn't, that a lot of people still don't, depending on how far along they are, a lot of people still have day jobs. But for me, in hindsight, it provided this incredible amount of security to be as free as I wanted on stage, because I knew that I would always have a job, more or less, right?
Yeah.
It provided me the ability to say what the fuck I wanted. I could take whatever risks I wanted. I could take as many shots as I wanted because I had this kind of backdrop, and then or backup plan. But then in 2016, like I got the Oscars writing job with Chris Rock, and that job coincided with my finance job ending because the family office shut down. And it was that point, a few months later, I made a decision. Okay, I'm just going to do stand up and take writing jobs as they come. And, that was 6 years ago. And so or 7 years ago now, it's kind of worked out. But yeah, I mean, short answer to your question, it varies depending on the comedian. Like a lot of comics write. A lot of very good stand-ups are also very good writers on TV shows that you may or may not have heard of, whether it be Atlanta or SNL or some bumblefuck show on, some VH1 network that you don't watch but still pays well enough for you to have a job and stay in comedy,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about in terms of like, I think what's unique about you in terms of your comedy, like you've kind of steered away with like a lot of what like a lot of traditional brown comics have done, which is very much about like our childhood or growing up an immigrant in a household, and you're just being funny.
Yeah.
Where I think it's where a lot of other people kind of gravitate towards like very personal experience and like the immigrant experience and really reflecting on that. Was that like a conscious decision?
I waver. I've been asked that before, and I waver on my answer because every time I say yes, I remember, oh, no, wait, it wasn't really. I remember consciously thinking, I don't want to do this, but sometimes I'll say no and be like, no, there's sometimes I will be deliberate about doing any material or not doing any material. And it's, when I started, my idols and people who I knew, like comedians I loved, were Rock and Russell. And it was like Rock talked about the world in such a way that I loved it so much. I was like, I want to talk about the world in that way.
Yeah.
And it also felt like Russell kind of had the market on talking about being Indian, growing up Indian. It's like, I need to be different.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much like I just hate Indian shit. It's like I have other things I want to talk about, like in the last special I did, there's a good 10, 15 minutes about growing up Indian, but that's because I grew up a very distinct way of growing up Indian in that I grew up surrounded by Indian people. I think in my peer group, a lot of comics that grew up that are in the mainstream media grew up not surrounded by Indian people. I was not the only. There's like 40 Indians in my high school class. You know what I mean? I grew up in Parsippany, New Jersey. Like it's
little India. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like so to me, like I guess subconsciously being Indian wasn't all that distinct.
Right.
It was like everyone's fucking Indian. We all grew up the same way. Why would I talk about that shit? When you talk about, doing drugs or healthcare or something, that people aren't talking about. And that was really it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the unique part and that's why you got on my radar during the pandemic. Like I was like, oh, there's an Indian guy talking about non-Indian stuff, and Drama, who's not here. He's a white guy from Ohio and he loves your stuff. And I think it's pretty unique for an Indian comic.
Yeah, I got to come to a show and see how diverse the room is, because that's really what the most surprising. And I give TikTok this credit, is that it's such a scattershot when it distributes the content, that it's like it'll go to Indian people, but it'll also go to like 60-year-old white ladies in Washington State that have never even contemplated going to a comedy show before, but here they are, wow. Oh, he did something. Like it's such a beautiful distributor of attention deficit disorder that like it just brings people. It's so cool to see, and I'm happy to see that the comedy resonates with everybody.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So what's the plan? How do you think about a career as a comedian? Do you want to do TV, movies, host a show? Like, what's the game plan?
It's like I said earlier, it's opportunities that come across my desk. And I'm like, okay, this seems interesting. That seems cool. Like, I would love to do this. In a dream world, I've sold 2 movies. I'm a TV show host. I'm doing everything and all of it that I can. Right now, from now until December 30th or so, I'll be doing stand-up. At the very least, I got a bunch of dates lined up through December. The theater tour hasn't been announced yet, but that'll be announced in the summer. I'm gonna tape another special in March, most likely. I'll put that out hopefully this April. Take a month of May off, and then I have a bunch of stand up just like ready to bomb with. So I'm gonna go to a bunch of clubs over the summer, start that shit out, see what happens, build another hour, and then hopefully by December it's in very good shape, and we'll see what happens. And then I kind of want to. I'm like an aesthetic person. I kind of want to just start January 2024, a clean slate, see what happens, and go from there. But I got some projects cooking, movies and all that kind of stuff. But right now it's just focus on stand up and try to be the best at that. I want, when I die, I want to be known as the best at least one thing. And I've been doing stand up for a while now. I think I can get very good at it.
No, that's amazing. I love the focus because I think a lot of people, when they have a little bit of success or even a lot of success, they spread themselves so thin that you can't ever be great at something unless you focus on it.
Yeah.
So I think that part is really admirable. I think the other question I had was like, when you look at Hollywood today, and like I'll watch a show on Netflix or go on TikTok or wherever, and I feel like brown people, given how many of us exist in America, are very well represented in Hollywood. I would even say overrepresented given how many people we actually are. Just because like when I look at like when I go to like my kid's school, we are the only maybe there's another Indian family in the entire school. Right? And like whereas when I watch a show on Netflix, there's guaranteed at least 2 characters that are Indian, right? And I think there's pockets of brown people all over the country, and it feels like we went from like completely absent from Hollywood to like pretty well represented. Do you feel like they're well represented, or do you feel like you're still underrepresented?
I would say we're still underrepresented in the sense of where our entire spectrum is not represented. Granted, to caveat this by saying I don't watch a lot of stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of hard. Like I know about Mindy's show and I know about whatever Hassan's doing, for example. But beyond that, I'm not like, I'm not counting Indian people on screen because I'm not watching Indian stuff or stuff in general. But I think we'll be well represented when we got some bad people on TV, when you got some other stories that aren't just this Indian person is a physician or this Indian person is a convenience store operator or a taxi. There's other stories. And when those stories start getting told, I'll be like, okay, we were fairly represented. I think it's interesting how quickly we went from 0 to 100. It almost feels like I have a joke about it, but it's like once Crazy Rich Asians came out, like the Hollywood recognized that this is an important demo that buys things. Yeah, maybe we should start selling to them. Yeah, and it's like so I don't know why we consider some people in Hollywood like the smartest people on the planet when it's literally like they're usually like decades behind the bottom line.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I would say that like when I look at the representation of many cultures on television, it does feel like it's come a long way. And there are like, the good looking guy is now potentially a brown person. The good looking girl is now a brown person. Like you are seeing stronger characters. And I would go across all races. And like when I watch I like rom-com teen shows. That's kind of my genre of television because I can't watch anything serious. It just stresses me out. But when I watch those shows, I'm like, all right, well, okay. The pretty girl is the Indian girl, or the stud guy is, an Asian guy, or whatever it is. And I think like that, when I look at that, it feels like more reflective of how like society is. And so I do feel like there's some progress there, but I agree. Like, I think to your point that you have to see like a wider range of kind of characters for, I guess, people to feel like they're well represented. I
feel like when we have a show that's just all Indian people, I think that'll like just like, and it like Shameless, but for Indian people, like that'll be all right, we made it as a group. Like, you ever watch the show Shameless?
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't watched it.
It's it's a show about an Irish family that lives in like this. It's a crazy Irish family that lives in a dilapidated house in Chicago. And to me, it's like, how is that a show, but not every Indian immigrant story from like 1970 to maybe even now, not a story? It's like I grew up. My 6 aunts and uncles and our like 10 cousins in one house for like the first 6 years of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, like how, like when that becomes a story, then we're like, all right, we good. Until then, I still think we got a lot of catching up to do.
That's fair. I would say the one breakthrough show where I felt like was all Indian that I felt like a lot of people watched was Indian matchmaking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
which is inherently very much, if you're not grow up brown, you do not even understand what that means. But like, that was a show where like a lot of my American friends were like, have you seen this show? It's amazing. And I felt like
I watched season 1 and I was like, okay, I get it. It's not for me, but I appreciated that it was on television. And Family Karma.
Yeah.
On Bravo. Again, like not my cup of tea when it comes to TV in general, but the fact that there was an entire Indian family, and I'm sure that's a lot of people's lives. It's not my life at all.
Yeah.
What's the show about? I haven't even heard of it.
It's just Family Karma. It's just a reality show about an Indian family in Florida.
Got it.
About an a group of Indians in Florida. And they, they're very, like, they're supportive of a lot of Indian. They came to my show. A few of them came to my show in Florida when I did it. And it's like, like, again, like, I don't watch the show. I haven't seen a single episode, but the fact that that show even exists, like, okay, cool. Like, we're making some headway.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. What would you give? What advice would you give to anyone that wants to break into entertainment, comedy? Like, obviously, you know how hard it is, but like I always tell anyone who wants to be in fashion, don't. It's hard as hell. The reward is there if you're willing to stomach it, but like it is such a long, hard journey.
I think anything, it's a cliche as fuck, but it's like anything worth doing is going to be a very difficult journey. And comedy, stand-up in particular, is a game of rejection. And it's just how much persistence and resilience and delusion that you have that's going to carry you. What I would tell a younger version of myself, I would, when I was 18, 19 going into college, I was like really gung-ho about being a physician. I actually wanted to be a doctor, and you do all the things you're supposed to do to then become a physician. It was, take all the pre-med classes, study for the MCATs a lot earlier than you should, take all the, volunteering and all that. The path of stand-up is a little different in that it's, very entrepreneurial driven. You have to make your own hours. You got to go find the open mics. You got to write the jokes. You got to do all that. But if you want to do comedy in general, like if you want to be a writer or, especially if you want to be a writer or producer, a lot of places are now, a lot of schools, state colleges at least, are starting to have like writing programs, comedy writing programs. You could find all those things to do. And to all the Indian parents that may be listening, like, comedy writing pays an insane amount of money, like for someone out of college. Like, it's stupid. And you don't even have to go to college necessarily to become a comedy writer. You just have to know how to write TV and be funny.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not as stable as, becoming a doctor or a finance person or whatever. But if it is something you really want to do, there are pathways to do it now. You just got to seek them out. And if the concern is they don't pay well, that is a lie. Like, comedy writing pays really well if you can get like the right gigs and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. So a lot of the big houses in my neighborhood are owned by writers.
Yeah. People pay well, and it's a very fun thing to do, to make something out of nothing, or something out of your experience and the life you lived,
So at what point when you were planning to be a physician or a finance major were you like, I'm pretty funny, let me give this a shot?
I quit pre-med my junior year of NYU because I got a C in orgo. And that's a true story. But then, when I graduated with a finance degree, like, I didn't get a job. And it's probably the best thing that happened, because I landed at one of the two investment banks that I had super days at. Super day being, when you do 5 rounds of interviews or whatever. Yeah. Had I ended up with one of those jobs, who knows? Maybe I would have been like one of my private equity millionaire friends, instead of this thousandaire stand-up comedian. But like, it was just like, literally, I was just bored with my life because it was so different than I thought I had imagined it being. You know, up until getting into NYU, I felt like I was coasting. You know, like getting into college, like, oh, this shit, like NYU is like my backup school. You know, and then reality hits you pretty hard when you graduate. All your friends are at banks in New York City. You're in Jersey, like making $20 an hour, like, which is decent money, but it's not a lot compared to what my friends were making and relative to my finance degree, you know? And I was like, what the fuck, what am I doing? And it's like, I guess I'm funny and I like making people laugh. And that was really it. It was like a kind of whim decision. I just went on stage and it worked out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for people to keep in touch with you? Is it TikTok, Instagram, your website?
TikTok, Instagram, those are my like where I distribute everything, and YouTube Shorts and YouTube, like finding Nimesh on all those channels. That's where I'm at. If you want to find where my shows are at, just findingnimesh.com. I'm everywhere this year. If you don't see your city listed, I will be there. Like, it's so funny. It's like I post like, hey, I'm coming to Philadelphia, and then like 17 people like, when are you coming to Chicago? I'm like, the year doesn't end in April, guys. Like, just have some goddamn patience. Yeah.
I like how you always put the dates in the middle of your TikToks. I thought that was so clever.
That's, that was, and I'm happy to spill the secret sauce. In April of 2021, I realized that the copy I was writing was like, hey, I'm going to be in Houston. I'm going to be in Philly. I'll be in Chicago. People would comment in the comment box like, oh, she's coming to Chicago. Oh, she's coming to Houston. And I realized that the algorithm, and this is anecdotal, but the algorithm was reading what I was writing. And so that micro targeting of location is what I kind of implemented on every video. Wow. And I could see on like the link tree, like analytics, like, oh shit, okay, if I post something that mentions Charleston, for example, the link in Charleston will see a significant bump relative to the other links. So it was just a matter that what you're commenting about is just a matter of the algorithm stuff. It's not even just like the visual of it, but it's like the machine behind is reading that shit and it's going to go places.
That's TikTok is unbelievable.
It's scary.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I wish it was American, but it's so fucking good.
Yes.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate your time. We're huge fans.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the support.
Next time you're in LA, we'll definitely come out and catch you live.
And I'm glad you got famous before TikTok gets banned. So good for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to diversify my distribution. That's all I'm hearing, man. I got to change my channels up. But
shout out to YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. Oh, and shout out to my cousin Gahan for putting me on. Yes. Thank you guys. He's a longtime listener.
Amazing.
This is great. The second time he hit me up, I was like, oh shit, yeah. I said I was gonna hit him back. I got to do that, and so I'm glad I was able to connect with you guys. I appreciate your time.
No, appreciate you, man, and congrats. It's so awesome to see.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, be easy, man. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was great. It's always fun to have people we enjoy on the podcast. That was fun.
That was great. It's cool to see the way he kind of broke out. It's very unique to the 2020s.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do that 10 years ago.
Yeah, because like we saw Hasan Minhaj grind out his career. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the power of social media.
I mean, when I graduated college in 2005, I think it was like the first start of like Indians trying to go into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of casualties.
Yeah, a lot of casualties. But it's cool to see people breaking out, and frankly, across like all genres, you're seeing people break out, and just like the idea of what a celebrity is or someone of influence and star. Like, I mean, I would have never thought 20 years ago that I would have the number one podcast in the world.
Right.
That's wild.
Crazy.
Wild. The influence is crazy.
I thought the most interesting thing was he figured out the micro-targeting of the cities.
Yeah. That's hot. That's such a good hack for retail.
For retail, anything that's local.
Local, yeah. Damn. Hot TikTok hack.
Yep.
That's a big news. The other big news is our Discord is fucking popping.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much good stuff, and it's fascinating the backgrounds of all the people and what they do. What a wide range of people, from consumer to tech to we got a guy there as a recruiter. He's getting people jobs. I mean, it's
if you need a mortgage, you can get a mortgage,
whatever, a grill. Like it's pretty fascinating. So if you haven't joined the Discord, it's on the chattycathyclub.com site. You can join the Discord there once you purchase the membership. But this shit's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
Like you could already see like the engagement and the excitement. So keep checking that out. Until then, the markets keep ripping.
Mm-hmm.
I checked in the morning and I knew Jerome Powell was speaking. I saw the markets were down, and then like an hour later, I got a notification that basically it was like an erection. It just went straight up.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
So Powell comes out and pretty much says like it's going to take a long time for inflation to get to the 2% target, which I don't know why everyone's stuck on this 2%. Inflation, ironically, has been ripping for now almost 18 months.
Yeah. But
has had no effect on consumerism.
Yeah.
Has no effect on the economy. So why do we think the world is different at a 2% inflation?
Real estate, it definitely has an impact because interest rates are higher. You could see that real estate is thought.
No. I'm sure you're saying that's the part of the economy that's getting affected.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing home buying has definitely slowed.
Yeah.
But everything else in the economy is on fire.
Yeah, I think there are clearly people have been affected by inflation. It's just that it hasn't affected everyone. There's a cohort of people who have money it has not affected at all. But if you look at people catering to lower income of this country, they are feeling it. They're saying, like when I talk to retailers targeting like lower income folks, they're citing inflation as their biggest challenge, because if you make $1,000 a month and you look at eggs prices, gas prices, where is that money coming from? It's getting taken out of retail.
Right.
So I do think, I think it does affect a lot of people.
It'll be interesting to see how the first 6 months are. Like, are we actually going to see, a shift in the kind of sentiment around consumerism? Because we haven't yet.
I think you have. You are seeing it at retail. At retail, you've seen.
Okay.
You may not see it on an airplane flight. You may not see it in Las Vegas. You may not see it in Disneyland, but you are seeing it at retail. Retailers are reporting soft. Everything is soft. December was soft. January is soft. I think we have tax refunds coming, so I think Feb and March we'll see a bump. And what we do know is the moment the consumer has a little cash, they spend it.
Right.
But and if you look at all the statistics, Goldman Sachs came out today, said that I think in Q1 they're expecting people to spend 35% of their savings, and by I think the end of the year they expect 65% of their savings would have been spent. So people are dipping to keep up with the Joneses. People have dipped into the last pool of money they have, which is their savings.
Yeah, the credit card debt is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So it's obviously they haven't stopped spending.
Yeah. So that
once those default,
that's what I'm saying. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable. So it's nice that the market is ripping, but there are going to be after effects of all this spending.
Yeah. So Powell was most concerned about employment.
Yeah.
That labor is still tight. I mean, but I don't see it going down. Like Chipotle said they had to hire 15,000 workers.
Didn't I tell you about what happened at Chipotle last episode where our friend got a meltdown because the service sucks? But yeah, I mean, I think there are in certain parts of the economy. Look, I think the lower end of the economy from a job market standpoint is insanely tight labor market. Like you could
Tight meaning you can't get a job, or it's unlimited jobs.
Unlimited jobs, and people can't fill those jobs.
Yep.
As you go higher up, it becomes tougher.
Yeah, because the layoffs we're even seeing, it's just tech companies.
Yeah.
No one else is laying off people.
Yeah, you're seeing some retail cuts.
You'll see it in finance and tech. It's
And
basically high earners are getting affected.
Even Walmart cut like management.
Mm-hmm.
They're not cutting staff at stores.
You can't.
No. And so what's interesting, here's an anecdote. There's a trade show happening in Chicago right now that some of the team members are at. And they said it was absolutely slammed. Like they've never seen a show like this before.
It's a clothing trade show.
Clothing trade show. Slammed. Magic is next week. Off-price shows next week. Then there's another show in Vegas called ASD. I'm hitting all of them. I'm super curious to see what the temperature will be of those shows, because that'll be a real tale of like, is retail really just so resilient that it doesn't matter?
Right. And that's forward looking, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're at a trade show now,
You're assuming business is booming.
in 6 months, right?
Yep.
Because most of these retailers or brands won't even deliver the product you're buying now for another 6 months.
Correct. Yeah. And but the good thing is Chairman Powell did say inflation is easing. It's just the labor market is pissing him off.
Yeah, he hates it.
Yeah.
He wants you to lose your job.
Yeah. He's coming after you, and there's nothing you could do to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But if inflation falls off a cliff, we might be fine.
I think the general thinking in finance is inflation is rolled over. If you talk to any banker, money manager,
Yeah, because they know everything.
not saying they know everything, but I think the markets are pricing in inflation's rolled over.
Here's the big news. Wholesale egg prices have collapsed.
Yes, we're back.
Yeah. So there was a disruption in Q4, specifically December, because of bird flu outbreak and egg production delays. And now, since December, wholesale egg prices have fallen by more than 50%. So retail egg prices should be dropping any day now.
Yeah, you would think so.
Unless they milk it, they're like, oh, we could charge this.
I had eggs this morning.
What?
I had eggs this morning. It felt very luxurious.
I mean, I have 30 eggs a week.
You're rich.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire. 30 eggs a week. That's what I'm eating. It's like eating caviar. It's interesting, but it's good to see there are, like, food inflation is, to me, a serious problem, and oil inflation are serious problems. If those two are under control, I'm convinced rent and real estate is going to fix itself soon. Like, that shit's coming down.
You think rent in LA is going to come down?
Maybe not rent in West Hollywood, but rent in the rest of the city, yes. I do think it's coming down.
It'll be interesting. I think metropolitan cities aren't going to see a real effect on real estate prices or rent. I think you'll see it in, like, suburban, smaller towns. There's just too much desire to be in all these metropolitan cities.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Layoffs continue.
Yeah.
Zoom is laying off 15% of its staff. I'm going to be a little insensitive here. They can lay off 75% of staff.
Yeah, I think most companies, especially technology companies that overhired the last 3 years, probably all need to have 50% fewer people.
But let's take Zoom, for example. Let's just look at it from a product standpoint. Do you use Zoom?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
What's changed?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing has changed. I downloaded Zoom in March of 2020. It is the same fucking website. It's 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, you've had no innovation.
I think the problem is public companies, at least, if you say you're laying off 60% of your staff, I don't know if the market's going to react kindly. They rather have you.
I think now they're cool with it. I think pre-Elon, pre-Twitter, I think it would look like this company's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're like R&D, like anyone with a common sense. What is Zoom's R&D? They've done nothing. Do you know all the ideas in summer of 2020 we gave to Zoom about creating an app marketplace so people can build on top of Zoom, live stream shopping, they've done nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the same goddamn site.
Well, at least the CEO, he reduced his salary by 98%. I like that.
Well, he's taking $6,000. What are you taking $6,000 for?
Maybe his accountant's telling him you need to be paid something.
Take $1.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean,
was he paying for parking?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I'm curious to see like the justification.
But the stock got a pop. 9%.
If he'd done 30, it would have gone up 20%.
They'll probably do another 15. That most of the companies do it in stages, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, I just think that like, given the kind of severity of like the way you are getting rewarded in the market today, why not go and, just hack away? Here's a really interesting, we've been talking about Chipotle a lot. Chipotle reported weaker than expected earnings and revenue for the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually surprising.
The burrito chain has been raising prices to offset higher food and cost. So they have not seen resistance to higher prices, but they missed on revenue.
How'd the stock do? I'm trying to look right now. Missing on revenue. I didn't think Chipotle gets affected.
I wonder if it could be weather related. Who knows? I mean, Chipotle in after hours it's down a lot. Down a few points.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like,
they better automate.
Theirs is clearly like they have a labor issue. They're opening up another 255 locations. I'll be honest, I've not been inside a Chipotle. Do you know the last time I ate Chipotle?
When's that?
When did it open in the Beverly Center? Like 2005?
Probably. That's the last time I've eaten Chipotle.
Yeah. Is it still there?
I don't know. 2000, I would say 8, 9.
You know what my problem with Chipotle is? I actually don't mind the taste. I mind the portions.
They give too much?
Too much.
That's a problem with the server.
Yeah.
They would love to not give too much because it increases their margin.
No, I think people go to Chipotle like basically to stuff their face. Like they're going for like, I want a big hearty meal because it's not cheap.
It's funny is Chipotle's customer is a higher earning income person.
Yeah.
So maybe all those layoffs are affecting Chipotle.
Yeah, that lunch crowd.
The lunch crowd.
Yeah.
And no
that
one's in the
corporate
office.
Fat cat that can't afford that. Because Chipotle's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap at all.
No, I think we've gotten it. Yeah, we've gotten it for like an office thing once. And I was like, whoa, this is expensive.
I think nothing other than like true fast food is cheap anymore. Like McDonald's is still cheap. Taco Bell is still cheap. If you go lunch anywhere, fast, casual, it's not cheap.
Yeah. What about like Panera bread? How much is that?
I'm sure it's $15-20. Especially if you're getting a chips, soda,
coffee, whatever.
Everything's 15 to 20.
Yeah, I feel like lunch is basically $20 nowadays.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Because I remember when I started work 5-4, it was about like the sub $10 lunch.
Yeah, Subway's still cheap, but nothing else is.
Yeah. Can you get out of Subway for $5?
Maybe the
6-inch
veggie. It's probably like $5.49.
It's a lot for that sandwich.
Yeah, there's nothing in it.
Some
shitty vegetables.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that bread, who knows what that thing's made out of?
Sugar.
Amazing. All right. This is just mind-boggling. Bed Bath & Beyond. Here's how I'm going to start this. Charlie Munger wants to ban crypto because he thinks it's fraud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
Where did you want to ban it?
He's been talking about just saying it should be illegal in America. That it's basically gambling. It's fraud. We should ban it. I'm actually okay with that. So should trading on the stock market. I'm okay with that too. Fraud. Complete fraud. Yeah. Bed Bath & Beyond stock yesterday was up 92%. They are filing for bankruptcy.
Any day now.
Right? After hours, they announce a $1 billion offering in the private markets to basically crush all the equity of the public markets. Mm-hmm. Stock goes down 30-40% after hours. I think it went down 50% today. The stock is worth zero.
Yeah, it's 0.00.
0.0. The company's dead.
The equity is worth 0.0.
The equity is worth zero. And Bed Bath & Beyond is somehow getting bailed out, which I have no idea how or why anyone is giving them money.
Well, the creditor is fine.
Sure, whatever.
Because you could shut down all your shitty stores and whatever.
And the stock still has value.
Yeah, this is just manipulation.
Full manipulation. The volume is astronomical. I mean, it was like at $1, then it went to $7. I mean, and people were rallying behind it yesterday on Twitter, like, we're going back to the moon. I mean, the company's insolvent.
Yeah, it's completely insolvent.
And
the equity is worthless.
And we're allowing, that is the equivalent of a shit coin.
It's worse because it's actually in your face. It's zero.
Yeah.
At least a shit coin is a white paper claiming some nonsense.
Yeah. This is just mind boggling to me. And like this, to me, this should be illegal.
Yeah. Financial regulators, this is like clear as day that everyone knows. There's no inside information.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the equity is worthless. It's still allowed to be traded.
Yeah.
So people are making money and losing money.
Like, for example, once that offering was announced, you should have halted the stock.
You should delist the stock immediately.
Yeah.
What's FINRA doing?
Who is FINRA?
Financial regulators.
They don't do anything.
Or the SEC.
Do you know how many companies that are teetering bankruptcy that have insane volume right now? There's so many.
And look, if you look at the volume, it's not retail traders. These are hedge funds.
Yeah, it's too much.
Way too much. And I mean, Ken Griffin, we talked about this. He said, thank you, Redditors. I've never had better sourcing in my life.
Yeah.
And he made, $16 billion last year? He's mocking this whole world of trading because his high-frequency traders just get ahead of it.
Yeah, it's too easy.
Data, it's such an easy game for them to play.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's just madness. They just announced they're closing 150 more stores. I don't know. So it's mad. It's just that, like, I'm okay if people want to call crypto full-on shenanigans, but this is a joke.
This is way worse.
This is a joke. Complete joke. All right, everyone. Taking a little break here. My DMs are blowing up. Everyone's talking about home carbonation in my DMs. You have no idea. I'm the #1 home carbonator DMer in the world. People have so many questions about Aarke, and I got a lot of shit from Daniel because he says I'm overfilling my... There's a line on the Aarke bottle that I've never paid attention to, and I just fill it up all the way. Water splats out everywhere. I didn't care. He was very upset with the way that I've been carbonating. So now I fill it to the line. I do my 3 pumps and keep it moving. But incredible response to Daniel's interview. People have really taken advantage of the discount code.
The Discord group, I think everyone got it.
It felt like everyone got in the Discord group. And now on February 14th, that discount ends. So if you're still interested in purchasing one of these home carbonation machines, and I picked up their Brita competitor. This is more sustainable. I felt bad. We use Brita at home. I'm done with them. And so head on over to aarke.us. That's AARKE.us. Use the code GROUPCHAT for 25% off. It's their biggest discount. Don't miss out on it. Let's get back into the episode. All right, let's move on to the future. The biggest thing in the world, AI, ChatGPT. 2 big announcements today. Google announced they have thrown their AI hat into the race. It's called Bard.
I don't like the name.
Name's terrible.
Yeah.
Google was such a good name.
Yeah.
YouTube is a great name. Like, we're going to have to...
Even Waze.
Waze is a great name, yeah. Bard is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But that is their ChatGPT rival that's going to come out in a few weeks.
So testers got released today.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know who the testers are.
I'm sure the people have screenshotted and put it up, and we'll know quickly.
And then in the coming weeks or months is when we'll all be able to use it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for context, like DeepMind was bought when? 2014?
Yeah.
They're no slouch in AI. This is a real competitor.
Yeah. And guess who was an investor in that?
Elon? And Peter Thiel, right?
Yeah.
Those two make a lot of good investments. Peter Thiel's in everything.
Yeah. Elon's a co-founder of OpenAI.
That's really funny. I didn't know that. But So they're no like, 20-year-old hacker that's just putting AI on their startup, which is what every single startup is now.
Yes.
Every single startup in Silicon Valley that's being formed has AI in their deck.
Yeah.
Do you have AI?
AI for jerking off.
So, I mean, now with Google and Microsoft, two of the top 4 valued companies in the world, or maybe, Microsoft's the most valuable, right?
Yeah. Microsoft and Apple go back and forth.
So you have the two titans saying AI. That means every single entrepreneur is just going to put AI in their deck.
Yeah. And you're already seeing it. It's already become a joke.
It's a joke. Yes.
It's already that it's happening. And by the way, look, inherently there is artificial intelligence in a lot of this stuff.
Google and Microsoft actually know what it is.
Yeah. And I think here's the problem why you have to keep adding in your deck. Microsoft CEO. Microsoft is very notorious for being very conservative in what they put out into the market.
Mm-hmm.
They came out today and said, this is Satya Nadella. I have not seen something like this since I would say 2007, 2008, when the cloud was first coming out. When you say something like that.
Yeah, every founder, man, it's going to be so annoying seeing decks.
AI for snacks.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Basically, based on your body composition, I suggest a snack for you.
Look, I know nothing about software really.
Snack GPT.
AI cloud is the new buzzword. Microsoft's talking about it. I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what that means. It means nothing. It's like Databricks.
So you're gonna see a lot of AI cloud businesses being formed by non-technical people that have no idea what either the cloud.
That's the problem I have
AI
with all this hype stuff. Is like with AI or with Web3, all these non-technical people enter the space that can't execute it, but they're incredible at storytelling. And that's the thing about fundraising that people don't get. Narrative is almost more important than execution in the early days.
Oh, 100%. And the ability to create competition between investors.
Yeah.
So people have FOMO.
Yeah.
That's all early stage investing is.
You know what the biggest beep I have with investors, especially on Twitter? They loved talking about founders when they have some quirkiness to them.
Yeah, that was Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
That is literally the way he raised all this money.
Nobody wants to talk about the founder I have a founder who wakes up at 6 a.m., works all day, and then goes to sleep.
That's not cool.
They don't want to hear that.
No.
They want to say he has to take a cold shower for 3 hours.
Yeah.
He meditates, he only eats raw egg, and boom.
And he only takes meetings walking.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
No, he's not. He's in the office at 8 a.m. grinding it out and then barely sees his family and goes to sleep.
Yeah, that's not that interesting.
It's a joke.
The guy that takes meetings walking.
Yeah, hanging upside down because he said the blood rushing to his brain makes him think better.
Yeah, Silicon Valley. That's how tech investing works, at least. I don't know about the rest of investing.
Yeah, I think it's very particular to tech.
Yeah.
Like where these people are. Because even when you talk to people in finance, they'll be like, oh, yeah, he's a genius. He's crazy. I'm like, why? Because why? He's an asshole? He's an asshole, so he's smart?
Yeah, I mean, not to take this lightly, but so many people think being on the spectrum from an investor standpoint is a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
They
fake it. I think people fake it now because they don't look at you in the eye because it's like,
because that's what investors have told the founders.
Yeah.
They always say the most successful people in tech have all been on the spectrum. So we have this probably overdiagnosed to founders that want to be on the spectrum.
Yeah, except I doubt Tim Cook and Satya Nadella are on the spectrum at all.
No, I don't think so.
Oh my God. It's just fuckery.
Yeah, if you're a little younger, you should go back and watch Silicon Valley. It was on HBO.
I haven't seen it. I got to watch it.
It's unbelievable because they didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
FTX, if they had created the FTX story about the character that Sam Bankman-Fried is and the people he convinced to invest and the way he did it and the blow up, the orgies, we would have been like, no way. if they put that in the show 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's so under dramatic when you think about what's transpired the last 7 years.
Yeah. It's way crazier.
It's way crazier.
Yeah. Because like the commentary on like when investors talk about founders, they want them to be weird.
Yes.
They don't want to be, hey, you know what? I took a few of my founders out to drinks the other night. We drank a lot. We had a nice meal. We had a great conversation. We all went home.
No, they want to say, we went out to sushi and he ran 7 miles afterwards.
Yeah. And then he argued about the theory of relativity with the chef.
Yes.
The omakase chef.
Funded. He only eats 1 meal a week.
Yeah.
That's another one. Another thing, fasting. You gotta
do intermittent fasting. You gotta do Burning Man and shrooms, and what else?
You came up with the idea while you're on shrooms. That's a big thing.
Well, everyone wants to know like a great origin story of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, you know what? I thought we could make a lot of money, so I started this business.
Yeah, it's like I researched 10 industries. I figured one is underpenetrated, and I was like, I'm going to go attack that industry.
Spend my time here because this is where I think I'm really fit to do it.
It's not a fundable story.
No. You know, I was running through Burning Man naked and someone grabbed my ass and I was like, whoa.
AI.
What if this was automated?
That is true.
Oh my God. It's so stupid.
It is.
And this is how trillionaires are made. $1 trillion industries are starting like this.
Yeah, but the problem is you have like the Googles and Facebooks that came out of the startup world, so they're never going to get stopped funded.
Is there a company in this last 10-year era that is going to be Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Apple?
10 years. So
the biggest company,
let's say post 2008, right? Because Airbnb, Uber.
Yeah, so Uber's the biggest, right? Nothing's gotten bigger than Uber.
Airbnb was over 100 billion at one point.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but it was.
Let's see. Is Airbnb the biggest winner of the last 75 billion? So maybe they're the biggest.
They might be.
And that guy seems normal. Yeah,
I've met him. Very normal.
Yeah, he's even just, I saw him, he's like renting out his house for Airbnb. It's like,
yeah,
he seems normal. That's 75 billion. Is that Airbnb the most successful company of the last decade?
Let's do 15 years because then you could throw in Instagram.
No, but it got bought. To me, it's like the wealth. Like what the wealth like is.
It was supposed to be Stripe,
but they
were trading at $320 billion in the private market.
I guess TikTok,
ByteDance, yeah.
ByteDance is it.
They're still trading over $300 billion.
So ByteDance is probably the Facebook, Google, Microsoft of this era. Because do you think Airbnb could be $1 trillion company?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And now Stripe, TBD.
Yeah.
Because they're raised at 60 billion, right?
Yeah. We don't have a Google, Microsoft in this era, except for ByteDance is it.
Yeah. And with what they're doing internally at Google and Microsoft,
pretty hard to compete with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, OpenAI had the potential.
Well, they're still independent.
Yeah.
And Microsoft is using ChatGPT for Bing now.
Yeah. Bing's going to be the hottest place to advertise. I'd move all my advertising budget to Bing.
Yeah, it's definitely not marketed yet.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
It's going to be better than it was last week.
Yeah. It sucked last week. Amazing. All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, everyone. We'll see you back here on Thursday to give our Super Bowl picks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Super Bowl picks. I got some interesting stats I've been reading about how much money is going to be bet over the weekend. $16 billion.
On the books or off the books?
It's unclear. I don't know how the stat was coming on. On the books, it's probably $1 trillion.
No, you mean off the books.
Off the books.
Yeah.
Oh, globally?
Yeah, easily.
All right. We'll see you, everyone, back here on Thursday to do a Super Bowl preview.
And the last thing, LeBron James may break the scoring record tonight.
Right?
He needs 36 points. You think he does it?
Who's he playing?
The Thunder.
Yeah. Putting up 40.
He kind of has to do it, right?
They just make the whole game with him just shooting.
Yeah,
Who cares?
Like what Kobe did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers having a shot at winning the title this year.
Yeah. Go get 40. It's a hot ticket to go to.
Yeah, they were saying courtside was going for 92,000 last week.
92,000.
For context, Kobe's last game was going for 50.
Well, it's inflation.
That's a real inflation.
Yeah.
Powell would not like to see that. I hope he didn't see that Bleacher Report report.
That's amazing. So that's tonight?
Tonight.
Oh, I got to watch.
Anthony's going.
Wow. Hot. All right. That's it. We'll see you back here Thursday. Bye-bye.
Peace.